let's get this link out then. Right. Link out. Everything's going. Jason, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Okay, good. Gary's off jet setting, I think, this weekend. Not this week.
What's that?
Yeah, jet setting somewhere. I think he said he was in the States.
Are you sure? Or is he in contract negotiations to be the next England manager?
It could well be. He'd certainly be a safer pair of hands than any of the previous ones we had, I think, really.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, dear. I don't know. You land your dream job and then keep it for, 61 days or something?
Yeah.
Shocking.
Falling for the old newspaper businessman scam trick where they film you doing dodgy deals.
Yes. Well, I can definitely go on record and say that the digital lifestyle doesn't do any dodgy Leicester City deals. It's all above.
Yeah, absolutely. Richard just saying in the chat room he's got 100% record.
Well, that is very true. Probably the only England manager that ever did.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so we've now Gary tonight, but we do have some email. We've got news we can be talking about, and the first person to mention OneDrive offline synchronization and placeholders goes onto the naughty list. Well, Richard, you've already you mentioned it, so there you go. So it's MS Ignite, isn't it? Which is kind of an IT pros type conference that Microsoft are doing this week.
Yes, yeah. So I've got an advert playing in my head. I'm just trying to figure out how to stop it.
I think I've stopped all that. Yeah. So there's been a bit of news coming out of that. So we can have a look at that as well.
Yes, that's quite a big show, isn't it? It's mainly what kind of business orientated, isn't it, rather than consumer orientated. But just quite interesting to me because there's been quite a few Office 365 announcements. So
yeah, there is. Yeah, there's been quite a bit of stuff that. So we've got some bit of progress on the bridges as well. What were the bridges called that you could submit your apps? Was the one of them was for desktop apps? I'll try to remember what it was called now. Was it Centennial?
Yes, that's it. Yes.
Yeah, so we've seen a bit of movement on that. A couple of apps of that to talk about. So we'll do the email later in the show. So well, first we'll talk about some of the stuff from Ignite. I've not really got a blog post or anything about it because it's, like you said, it's been business orientated. But there are one or two things that have been interesting, perhaps for consumers, and a mention of OneDrive and offline files. Although I'm not quite sure what they mean yet.
Yeah, it is a bit of an odd one because they were talking about you'll be able to flag files for offline access, and I think we yet to see. I guess it's proof of being the pudding, but because I know with the current OneDrive you can choose. Actually, no, you can choose individual files, can't you? You can choose folders, and so yeah,
I'm not. You can choose files. You've got to choose folder, haven't you? When you do that, the sync options. When you set the when you set the app up, you've got to pick. It's like a tree view in the folders that you've got to pick.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, no, I'm getting confused because there's that option. You can choose files in this folder, can't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So yes, so you're right. So that would be a step up in terms of being able to mark individual files offline. But I don't tend to bother with the UWP app. I don't think I've even got it installed because I just tend to pick the folders that I want. But I guess I'm lucky in that most of the time I don't really need offline access. If there's a file that I haven't got sync that I need, I just literally open it directly from OneDrive.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm a bit like you. I have my folder structure in such a way that so I think all my devices, even down to the smallest tablets, have my documents folder synchronized, and then these machines, the bigger machines that I'm using for the podcast, have the audio folder synchronized for the audio files, and music is only synchronized on one machine. So it's kind of it's kind of you choose which way it works. But I always like the old way of doing it with the placeholders, but that's not kind of really what they're offering. So if you've got to pre-mark a file, then it's not the same thing, is it?
No, absolutely not. Yeah,
so it's just really an extension of what we've got now, where you can do it on file level.
Yeah, and I think I was probably one of the ones that was quite vocal when Placeholders just went away. But I think like you, Ian, I think I've just kind of changed my workflow, so I don't miss it that much. I mean, I've got my music now in OneDrive. I'm not going to sync that locally. But what I like is in Groove is you can actually choose to have individual songs or albums offline. And it deliberately doesn't download them into your OneDrive folder because that would kind of create a circular sync issue. But what it does is it downloads it into its own music kind of local cache.
Yep.
But apart from that, in terms of files, for me, I don't need it. I mean, again, pictures, I tend to synchronize locally the last year. But anything else, I just kind of access via the cloud when I need to, probably most likely on the Xbox One.
Yeah, that's it. So it's funny how we have kind of got used to it, and I guess it is simpler for people to understand the concept. Placeholders were always handy when you needed them. It's kind of thing like you said. Now we've adapted it. We don't need them, but it would be nice to have the option.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you saw the other big news that to do with OneDrive that it's for the SharePoint sync, the Groove's going away. Not the Groove music service.
Right. Groove back to Ray Ozzy's Groove.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So probably for anyone that just uses OneDrive kind of consumer, you probably don't notice it. But so I think over the last kind of 18 months, they've synchronized the OneDrive for Business into the standard OneDrive client. So when you go into settings, which I can't get to pop up above my Skype prompts, if I hang up the call, I apologize.
Don't hang up the call.
No.
It took us ages to get it going.
Yeah, sorry. No, I can't get it to open up without moving it. But yeah, if you go into settings, you've got an option now to add a business account, a bit like you have with the iOS and Android apps. But if you actually want to synchronize the SharePoint repository, you have to still use the OneDrive for Business, which still is the groove.exe old client from longer. Even I think that was even when we had Windows Live Sync, wasn't it? I think it was that executable.
Yeah, but almost not. It's not live mesh desktops, but
that was it. Live mesh, yeah, absolutely. So they announced today in preview that they're going to now move that SharePoint sync into the main OneDrive client, and even adding on to that, it will actually download and sync shared folders as well, which is something that I would quite like on the main OneDrive client.
Right. So from the OneDrive client, you can have your own personal storage, you can have your OneDrive for Business storage, and your shared SharePoint storage.
Yes, yeah,
Right.
and also any OneDrive for Business files that have been shared with you. So someone else in their own Office 365 account choose to share a folder or a file with you, you'll be able to choose those for offline sync as well.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Yeah. Like I said, it would be something I'd quite like for the OneDrive consumer client.
Yeah, I think putting it all into one place makes a lot more sense than it's having multiple sync clients.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, I've literally got 3 cloud icons at the bottom of my system tray. I've got the OneDrive Personal, OneDrive for my Office 365, and then OneDrive for Business, which is my SharePoint site. So yeah, it gets quite confusing.
Yeah, and then I've got Dropbox as well. Yeah, so you can have multiple of these.
Yeah, and I think also what they announced is there's going to be a viewer for recent file transfers, which will be quite useful.
Yeah, that would be handy because that's something Dropbox does has. You hover over it and you can click onto the icon, and I can see that 6 days ago this file was updated and this one is yet to download and so on. So I think that's handy to have because it's quite the syncing works quite well, but if you're not quite sure what's going on, I suppose it's hard to work out which files have been updated, especially when you've got all these different engines that you're potentially using.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's good. So that's a step forward. I'm trying to think what else that they showed off that was of interest. They showed some phone stuff off, a little bit of phone stuff.
Yeah, there was the OneDrive. Sorry, not OneDrive. Sorry, Outlook app for iOS and Android has been updated so that the old, because for Office 365 Business there was the OWA app.
Yes.
Which you had to install separately on iOS, but that's now been finally merged into the main Outlook client. And they've, from when they purchased, and I can't remember the name, Sunrise was a calendar. I can't remember what the name of the email app was that they purchased.
Oh, began with I, didn't it?
Yeah, it's completely gone. But anyway, that service, which did rely on cache data, I think stored even on Amazon, I think it was.
Hmm.
Amazon Web Services is now fully migrated into Office 365, so that data now isn't sitting on any third-party services.
I forgot what it was called now as well. It's a really good app, and actually it's my preferred email client now. That for out. So I get my all my email from all my various accounts in that one app now.
Yeah, and as I mentioned last week, my wife's now got an iPhone 7, and she tried the standard mail app and has now installed the Outlook app and much prefers that.
Oh, and remind me to ask you about that then later. Yeah, so that looks quite good. The other thing I did see was that they did do a little bit of it Redstone 2, didn't they? For phones, and then I think they mentioned some changes to Continuum.
Right, I must admit I didn't catch any of that.
So I think you can actually have a separate start menu now for Continuum than you do, because currently the way that Continuum works, so you've got your phone docked or using wireless, the start menu is mirrored between the two. It's the same on the phone as it is on the Continuum, the second display, but apparently you can now customize that and change that. And they're also going to look at they're also going to be adding resizable windows as well as snapping windows. So on Continuum at the moment, if you open, say, Groove, you either have it full screen or minimized. There's no in between. And so what they'll be able to do with this is you'll be able to resize it and snap the Windows apps on Continuum, so it works like the desktop rather than like the phone.
Right. Yeah.
Which makes sense, and you can pin apps as well to the taskbar, which is something you can't do at the moment. So I think that looks quite good. There was some management stuff like updating phones via USB for device admins, but I think those were the sort of the things that looked interesting for consumers. Although, like we said last week, I very rarely use my Continuum dock, so I probably dust it out off and use it again when they do these changes just to test them out. So that's probably it. In fact, I did try and use it today with my my Surface. You can use a Kinect, the wireless Kinect, and I couldn't get it to work at all. So either on my Surface Pro 3, which is on Redstone 2, or my Surface Pro 4, which is the release preview ring. So it must be something on the Redstone 2 builds of Windows 10 Mobile that's causing the problem.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it makes Continuum more useful. How many people are using Continuum remains to be seen, and perhaps it's more of a thing for the future rather than a scenario that many people are using now.
Yeah, it's just if I was having a conversation yesterday when Windows Phone came up, and the person kind of said, what's happened to Windows Phone? I really liked it, but it's just seems to be disappearing.
Yeah, that's it exactly, isn't it? It's disappearing, and you're the same situation. Me, your kids have got phones, and mine lads have got Lumias, and one of the Lumias is just over 2 years old. I think it's a 630, and it's been a great phone, and it's a testament to how well they're made, because no other phone he's ever had has lasted for 2 years. This has gone past the 2 years, and the only thing that he's actually reason he's looking at changing the phone is to get more apps, apps that his friends are using, whatever, on Android. So he will end up leaving Windows. I mean, he's currently Windows Phone 8.1. It'll leave that and go to an Android. But I'll be surprised if I can get a low-cost Android phone for him that lasts the same amount of time as the Nokia has lasted.
Yes, yeah, it's sad, really, but there we go.
Yeah. So anything else from Ignite that you saw that looks interesting? I think those are the main consumery type things, really. There was a lot of interesting stuff on the sort of the IT Pro side around with bots and some intelligent, I don't know even what they call them now, these some machine learning stuff that's looking interesting.
Yeah, I must admit, I didn't see that. The other thing that really caught my eye was the, which isn't really relevant to our audience, but the launch of Server 2016 in October, in kind of mid-October.
Yeah.
And there's some really interesting storage features coming with that, which is great for me in the SQL world. But so it's not really for our audience. But yeah, I was quite interested in that.
Although I might put that on my server here.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's some dark magic going on there to make that work.
Yeah. Um,
I think it's what I can't remember, it's storage space, isn't it? But
Yeah.
it's I can't remember. There's a word that goes before it, and I can't remember what it was. But anyway,
which is almost the home server technology, isn't it?
it is, yeah, but stretched across individual servers, which is quite amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. And Microsoft do have all the videos up there as well, so you can go and peruse those yourselves, and you'll see the stuff. And I'll include a link about the Redstone 2. I think it was on Neo in that I saw that, so I'll make sure I include that.
Yeah, I got you.
I think we've got is it next week or the week after a Microsoft hardware event?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that because I was going to say, what's the next upcoming events that kind of from a consumer perspective would be interesting. I know that there's been rumors and talk. I haven't seen any fixed kind of date, but there is a talk of an October event for hardware partners, and whether or not there will be any Surface information on there. The number of I don't know how you have your Edge set up, but whenever I open Edge, it has my most recently used top sites, and then a news feed below it. And I find it quite useful because I tend not even bother with the news app because it tends to really kind of echo that. But
Yeah.
it always makes me laugh how you see stories about literally within a week of the iPhone 7 being launched, there's like rumors and details of what iPhone 8 will look like. And,
yeah, that's right.
And I keep seeing stories around Surface Phone confirmed and Surface Phone to launch this year and Surface Phone delayed, and it's like there's just no information out there, but yet these stories seem to surface.
I get
no pun intended.
I get these on Google now. You probably haven't seen this, but I on your phone on Android, I can swipe left, show on the screen, and as well as it show my parking location and the weather and all that kind of thing. It's just like Cortana. It shows news app topics that it thinks I'll be interested in, and it uses your history and other things, just like Cortana does. And I must have searched for Surface a few times because it's showing me stuff about Surface, but it seems to pick up some random sites that you probably wouldn't read normally, and they're always saying Surface 5 to launch this year with extra storage and faster processors.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. There's no, like you said, they've been very good on avoiding leaks so far with the Surface stuff.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's partly because they're just it's still looking maybe like spring next year, but yeah, it does just make me laugh with all these little rumors are going. Oh, I just want to see the headline where it says Surface 5 to launch with slower processor and less storage.
Yeah.
It'll be worse than the last Surface.
Yeah, and the Surface Band and the Surface Phone all launching at the same time.
Yes. Yeah.
I know Google have got an event. I think that's next week, launching the new phones as well. So that should be interesting. And there is rumors of them launching a new tablet OS, kind of a hybrid Chrome.
Yes, yeah, I saw that. I didn't bother following the story. I kind of expected it would be another non-story of rumor and whatnot. But
yeah,
I mean, it certainly would be interesting if they went down that path. I mean, there's been talk, isn't there, of Chrome OS being able to run Android apps natively. Maybe that's what that really is in reality.
Yeah, this could be called Andromeda. So yeah, we'll see. So I think 4th of October is the Google event.
Yeah, that was a Gene Roddenberry TV series, wasn't it? Andromeda.
I think it was. Yes.
Yes. Quite dreadful, as I remember.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I guess apart from that hardware event, I guess we're looking at CES next, which isn't really a Microsoft show anymore. But
no, I think there is rumors of an October event, and I think Mary Jo Foley had the rumor that there was. It wasn't just going to be Microsoft hardware that's going to be on show. They were going to show off partner stuff as well. And they have had October events for the last few years, but I don't think there's any invites been sent out yet. So I expect we will, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Now, just briefly before we go back to some more Microsoft stuff, how's your wife's iPhone going then?
Yeah, all good so far. No complaints. She's much happier with the applications that are available, and haven't had any real complaints about battery life. I think the only comment that she's really made is that, and she doesn't like a big phone. She really didn't like the 950 XL when I had it on loan, but she's wondering whether or not she might have quite liked the iPhone 7 Plus. because she's using it for kind of some gaming, so it might be quite nice. But I think it was one of those things where almost I think it'd be better if she'd be able to kind of expand it when she wants it and then shrink it back for day-to-day use.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult one. I think possibly if I made the move to iPhone, I might well buy the Plus, and then if she prefers that, I'd quite happily swap and see. So we'll have to see.
But the Plus as well has got a better camera, hasn't it? It's got the 2 cameras and more memory, and there's a couple of other bits and pieces it's got.
Yeah, although I think I would probably look at maybe getting the iPhone 6s Plus.
Right.
Just purely because, having used the iPhone 7, I'm not convinced with the Plus being that much more expensive. I think I'd be better off buying the previous generation and sticking with that.
Yeah, and you get a headphone port.
Yes, you do. Yeah, I feel sorry for all those people that are drilled into the iPhone 7 thinking that I really do hope that no one was actually stupid enough to do that, but you just know somebody somewhere was.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, apart from that, yeah, she's getting on really well. I mean, it's really nice. I mean, as I said last week, every time I press the button, and knowing it isn't a button, I'm convinced it's a button.
Yeah, and I have to try that for myself.
Yeah.
I think my wife's due hers change hers towards the end of this year, so I think she'd probably go for 7 because I think she's got a 6. So yeah, it's 2 years or whatever. So I think that's due for a change.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever get her on my 950.
No, so I must admit, I do keep looking at the 950, especially with it being so cheap. But I'm resisting.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you did have it, you would have a limited length of time with it, perhaps.
Yeah, and absolutely. And if I did get it, it would be for at least another 12, 18 months. And I think for now I'm gonna hang on. I mean, I've still got my 930. It still does everything I want it to do. There was another release preview released yesterday update, which I reinstalled. And no idea what it contained, but yeah, I'm still happy to use it. And so I think hopefully it will last me long enough to that point where there are maybe a Surface phone or maybe some other OEM phones, or maybe the X3 has come down in price, then I can make a judgment call.
Yeah, I looked on Microsoft's site, the Microsoft store. The X3 is an expensive phone, isn't it? I think it's like 700 quid, isn't it?
It is, yes, yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's just something I couldn't sort of justify. And I still use my 950, but I've got I've got into the ecosystem with Android again, and I've got all my apps set up how I want them. And actually, I don't think since we recorded, I've got Android 7 on here now. So I don't think I mentioned that last week because I don't think I had it on there last week. So that's Android 7 Nugget, or Nougat as I like to call it, but it's not, as Gary corrected me. Android Nugget is on here, Android 7, and that's got split screen.
Oh yes, yeah.
It's quite funny actually. It reminds me so much of Windows 8. Is it Windows 8.1? So you can hold down the task switcher, and it goes into like a split screen mode, and you can have 2 apps at the same time, and it works exactly like, I think, just as Windows 8.1 did. Where you had one and then you did the split, and then you could switch between the it would then give you the list of other apps, and then it would slot in when you do it. So I picked it like that. So I don't know if you can see it on the screen now, but you've got so I've got 2 apps there now. I've got email on the top, Outlook, and I've got a web page on the side. But if you hold it in landscape mode, it's exactly like the Surface was, where you can switch between the apps, and you've got the slider to switch the how much screen split you've got. So it's quite funny to see that on there. In fact, I did a little video of what it's like using the new version of Android, and there was loads of times I thought, oh, that's just like Windows Phone. I'll have to find the video of it to remind myself. But there were quite a few times I did it, and I thought, gosh, that just reminds me of Windows Phone, and that does. Well, I tell you, one of the things was the notifications as a clear all thing, which is exactly, I think that's Redstone 2. Was it Redstone 2 or the previous, or was it the anniversary update? The previous to the anniversary update. I think there was a clear all option, wasn't there, on the notification window?
Yes, yeah.
But there was a lot of things in here that remind me of Windows Phone. Believe it or not. So far I really like this Android 7. There's not a huge amount of changes. They've tweaked the settings, and it's really notifications. Oh, that was it. The notifications tiles are a lot flatter now and look much more like Windows Phone as well. So yeah, there's nothing new under the sun, as I said.
Yeah.
Everything comes around. But anyway, so so I've got a video of that, so you can see that on the newslifestyle.com with the new version of that. Now, what else do we have? We had a new build last week, didn't we? Yes, I think. Yeah,
we did. Actually, just before you go on to that, so I'm trying to remember what the new. It's not messaging everywhere, is it? Message sync.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, messaging sync. What with the new Skype? The new Skype app.
Yes. I'm trying to think now where the SMS message sync. That's a new name for it, and it's completely gone out of my head. But that got released down to, which I really thought that was only going to be in Redstone 2, and we'd have to wait months for that, but got released down into release preview for the Redstone 1 build. Yep. So I've been making use of that, which works really well.
Oh, right. Now, of course, I haven't tested that because my main sim's in the Android phone.
Of course, yes. Yeah. See, so, that's the dangers of moving on, see.
But I have to say, I've been doing I've had a lot of text messages this week, and I've been replying to them from my PC because Cortana's on Android. So yeah, you can just reply to them from PC, and it works really well. And you even get a notification from Cortana saying, "I've sent you a text message." So I've been really impressed with that, actually. Yeah,
no, it's working really well. So as I say, I've got that preview out now, updated on my Windows, on my 930, and on Windows 10, and literally within the Skype window now, you get to choose what you want your default messaging app to be. So I've chosen Skype. So now I can open up Skype and send text messages, and I can do that for my Windows 10 machine, or if I get a text message on my phone, it comes through. And so so I've seen the Cortana ones, but as I say, this is full message sync with view the full messaging. But the weird thing is, I've still on my Windows 10 machine, I've still got this messaging Windows messaging app which does absolutely nothing. I don't know if I can install it or and it also then on my Windows 10 mobile device, should I uninstall the messaging app since I don't need it anymore? It's it's still a little bit confusing how they've got it all set up.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, that they pushed it. So that was a couple of builds ago, but now you said that's been pushed out. Is it release preview, or is it every Windows 10 mobile device now?
It's just release preview at the moment. Yeah.
Which I guess most enthusiasts should be on, really. I mean, there's no reason why you wouldn't go to that, because everything comes out there that's stable, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think for anyone that's got a Windows 10 mobile device, there must be an enthusiast at this point. So,
or maybe other words apply.
Yeah, slightly mad.
Yeah,
I think if you've got a Windows 10 mobile device, particularly with carriers still getting in the way, I think, please, you should just be on the release preview ring, because that way you aren't going to get these alpha beta builds. They are, you literally get them a week maybe or so before they go down to the main public release. But some apps actually do tend to stick around in preview form a bit longer than that, so it's a good way to keep up to date.
Yeah, take your hair shirt off, stop beating yourself, and get it on the release preview ring.
Yes.
Now, on the actual fast ring, we had build 14931, but that was PC only.
Yes, it was. Yeah, apparently there was some issues with the previous build to do with SIM cards and whatnot, so they've held back on mobile, haven't they?
Yeah, and there was really very little changes on this. There was a few bug fixes, and that was it, more or less.
Yes, yeah.
They did call out in the blog post update. Because I got that on my other Surface, where you can have the dark mode and things.
Yes, yeah. And actually, I think I got the maps update as well.
I did.
Yeah. Sorry, you cut out for a bit, so I didn't catch some of what you said. But
yeah, I was going to say that. So the feedback hub, they called out the feedback hub, the maps, and the Skype preview, which you talked about before, and all those have turned up on my Surface Pro 4, which is on the release preview, I think so.
Yeah. There was also some talk, which again, I don't know if that might still be limited to Redstone 2, but there was some talk about the live traffic, which when I started to read it, I thought was similar to what you were talking about in terms of how Android works, but actually I'm not so sure that it is now. It's just a very quick way of getting to see what your journey to work and home is like.
Yeah, it's like a traffic hub, I think, isn't it? Where it's all the traffic stuff in one location.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so that was it really. So there wasn't a huge amount of changes, but I did do my video of it, which is I think one of the shorter ones. Somebody did say, I don't think it was this build, it might have been a previous build. Somebody called it a fake, said it wasn't the real build. I'm sure I've really got better things to do than trying to fake builds on there, but that's YouTube comments for you.
Yes, yeah.
Now, interesting comment from Richard there about quality of software coming out from Microsoft. He says he feels insider previews may be a way of cutting back on internal Microsoft testing. Yeah, I know Richard's saying that. I mean, some obvious things you kind of surprised don't work, like when the Surface Pro 2 the Wi-Fi card didn't work with Insider Bring. You do wonder the quality control process, but then we are in a different world now where things get released rapidly, and previous to this way of working, you got 2 or 3 builds and that was it.
Yeah, I think in some ways, I think that is a fair statement, really. I mean, that's essentially what us as Windows insiders are there to do. And it makes sense that, obviously we beta test the big major builds that are going to go out and roll out. And then for those of us on the release preview, we kind of always get the next incremental cumulative update a week or two before someone else. And I think to the most part, a lot of that works really well. But where it breaks down is if you take examples of like the Kindle blue screens, or I'm trying to remember the other one. The webcam, I guess, is a really, really good example. But the one I refer to, because I've got first-hand experience, was the Surface Pro 3 battery issues. That was actually reported to Microsoft through the Feedback Hub a lot over the last 3-6 months, because everyone quite rightly kind of linked it to the fact that they were testing the next Redstone 1 build of Windows 10, and that was when the battery started degrading. So there was actually lots and lots of reports of that. And I think even Donna called out in some of her releases saying, we've heard you on Battery Live, we're looking into it. So I wonder sometimes whether or not these issues kind of aren't reported quite in the right way. And so I think Microsoft need to work on, we've talked, it's all well and good them saying, don't worry, we dedupe your feedback reports internally. But it's no good having, 1,000 feedback items with 1 or 2 upvotes each, because to us that looks, well, is that going to get noticed? Is that enough to trigger the further analysis? It's really difficult. So I still think there is some gaps on that, but I do think ultimately that's what the Insiders program is about, because it really does give them access to real world setups. I know they have rows upon rows upon rows of different computer configurations where they run their daily builds and try and test it out, but even those, when you think about us, some of us still using, maybe TV tuner cards in our machines, or, all sorts of peripherals you can add on all sorts of different printers. And, whether or not you unplug and plug a device in, that's really difficult to simulate in a lab.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's such a wide array of software and hardware combinations out there that it is an issue. But something like the webcams, like you mentioned, is a bit of an obvious one because it was kind of affected multiple devices. But yeah, it still is difficult. Talking about, you mentioned the Surface Pro battery thing there. The still issue hasn't completely gone away, has it?
No, now it's plaguing the LGC batteries, which there were people reporting that in the Simplo battery thread, and I think their voices kind of got a bit drowned out. Or certainly myself, I just assumed it was the same problem, but it's it's turned into the same cycle where clearly there's an issue, and just the silence from Microsoft. I'm not saying they don't, Microsoft will fix these things eventually. They're not just going to completely bury their head in the sand, but why not just tell us what's going on? It really doesn't do any harm.
I mean, they have acknowledged it, haven't they? That
but it's the fact that it takes so long, and the fact that even when they have acknowledged it, that there's no continual feed, just a weekly update saying, look, sorry guys, we're still, because we do accept with the Simplo battery fix, of course we wanted to fix as quickly as possible. We wanted it yesterday, but we also didn't want a fix that made things worse. So, we're happy to wait for testing, but just let us know that you're doing something. It's so frustrating not to have that feedback.
Yeah. And I've checked mine, and mine seems to be okay. Although my battery capacity is reported something like 44,000 milliamp hours, and the capacity is 42, and the actual battery is 44. So not quite sure how that works.
Yeah, actually, I haven't checked mine for a bit. Let me have a quick look, because mine has been fluctuating up and down a bit, and my problem is I've got no way of I literally, instead of battery port, I literally just type battery gate. I've got no way of proving this, but I do wonder whether or not my battery life has been impacted. So
yeah,
my design capacity is 42157, full charge capacity is 37992. But the odd thing is, that was quite, and I've said before, I understand these batteries do degrade over time, particularly if you don't use them in a healthy way in terms of running them down and then charging them up. But my battery capacity was static until May, June time this year. So when the device was literally 18 months old, it suddenly started degrading from where it was, and now it's down to 37735 according to this, which is different to the capacity it's reporting. So it does feel like my battery did suddenly start degrading. I mean, it's saying quite static now, but the problem, of course, is that you don't know, because there was a reporting issue, whether or not actually the battery had started degrading anyway, but just wasn't being reported properly. It's
it's difficult to say.
Yeah, but I have to say, in terms of battery life, I now get, so for example, my because it tells you what its prediction is. Let me see if I can find it.
I think mine's something like 5 hours, something like that now.
Yeah, just trying to see, because it's I can't see it now. Wait, I thought there it was. Yeah, so my estimate on active is 4 hours and 27 compared to 4 hours and 56 at design capacity. So I must admit, the battery report really does give a lot of information. It not only tells you what your current capacity is, but it also says if you were still at design capacity, what you'd get, so you can actually see the shortfall. And in fact, connected standby is still showing as 53 hours, which was 59 odd hours. So it's 18 months old. I do have it pretty much 99% sitting on a dock, which isn't the way you really should treat your battery. So because I then switch it off and it goes into connected standby, so the battery's getting drained probably maybe 5-10% each day and then charged back up again. So I do accept that I'm not using it in the right way, and that's really where I come from when I said to you that I think next time I'd look at if I have that facility of just getting a proper laptop for work, and then a tablet for when I need a tablet on a train or something.
Yeah. Now, going back to what was mentioned very early on about Project Centennial, which was the way of getting sort of Win32 apps into the store. An interesting app that's arrived is Kodi. And I don't know, you've seen this, but Kodi is what used to be Xbox Media Center, and now Kodi, and an open source media center project, and it's been around for a long while and used by a lot of people on a lot of different devices. But this is my first experience of installing the Win32 app through the store, and I say it works really well. Really, I just installed it and just worked like you would install any UWP app, and everything works exactly the same as you'd expect. And Kodi is, you can install it yourself through, go to Kodi.tv it is, what is it? I'll get it right. Yeah, Kodi.tv, and you can download the installer and everything else. But this actually worked really well, and was quite nice to see a Project Centennial app in there. And according to the blog on the Kodi blog, it was pretty easy to get going.
Yeah, it just seemed to be very easy to do. I mean, I know you need to put in some effort if you want to start making use of live tiles and notifications and things like that. But yeah, overall, I think it does seem to be a very simple process.
Yeah. Another one that was released that might be interesting to some people is Open Live Writer. which is the old blogging tool, where it's an open source version of the Windows Live Writer that any bloggers know and love from a while ago. And I stopped using it. I use Word now, but yeah, Microsoft have had this project for a while with an open source version of it. And I know Scott's a fool on Twitter. He's been working on it as well. And yeah, they just yesterday they published this via the store as well. So it's another example of a Win32 app that you get through the store, and it just seems to be nice and clean. I think it's a really good way of delivering apps. Now, of course, they don't work on your phone or whatever because they're Win32 apps, and you couldn't get this Kodi app on the 950 or on the Continuum or anything like that. But as a Win32 app, it's fine and easy to install and easy to remove, and it clears up after itself.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I'm interested if Office goes that way.
You got to think it has, hasn't it? Although, I mean, currently you install Office through if you do it through Office 365, it kind of does that. But yeah, you've got to think so, and that's going to way forward. Now, talking to media servers, interesting one from Plex. They have launched Plex Cloud, so a cloud-based media.
I couldn't forget if it was me or you.
No, it was definitely me because it lost its connection to everything. So Skype did, and then it wouldn't ring you back. It's back now anyway, and the stream is back on. So what was I going to say? I forget where I was up to now. It's got me. Oh yes, Plex. Did you see that Plex have launched Plex Cloud? So it's a server, so you don't need a Plex server anymore.
So you keep breaking up.
Right. So Plex have launched Plex Cloud, so you don't need a server anymore.
No, You keep dropping every other word.
Oh, for God's sake, Skype. What is wrong with this Skype? It's working here. How's it sounding now?
No, it's still.
I'll call you back. Hello.
Hello.
Any better?
Not quite. I'm wondering if it's. Oh, that was better.
Richard said we both sound fine.
Yeah, so that's better.
Right. Okay. I'll try asking this now for the 89th time. So Plex have launched Plex Cloud, so you don't need a physical Plex server anymore.
Yes, yeah, I saw your report on that. So is that they're providing, essentially giving you storage in the cloud for you to upload your videos to?
Yeah, although I've applied to beta, but from reading that, you do need to provide your own Amazon account, I think. So essentially,
Right.
you would have to, Richard's saying same thing. Plex Cloud, so you pay £60 a year that uses Amazon to host the files. What I would like to see really would be much better for me would be if it could use OneDrive, because I've got terabytes of storage there.
Yes, yeah, I'd be interested if they could expand that for different services.
Yeah, so it just gets rid of the need to have a physical server. Although music's fine with cloud stuff, but when you're dealing with Blu-ray files and things like that, I'm not quite sure. You've got you're limited by just the vast size of these files.
Yeah, I think then you've got to be quite careful, haven't you, if you're putting your own digital movie files out into the cloud.
Yeah.
You'd only then it comes up, are you sharing that with anybody? I can certainly see the advantage of it. I mean, if a Plex server on your local network is great, but it's very difficult to then use that content if you've got, bandwidth constraints if you're out. So I can see how that would work around that.
Yeah. So an interesting idea. Yes, but yeah, US only and Amazon only really. So if it had OneDrive support, then I'd be probably more interested in it. But Richard's saying he's tried that and get performance issues. Maybe a bit of caching in the client app would help. But I still like having a server, I think, for these giant video files. Music is fine, there's no issue with that. I mean, even my music collection, that's 20 gig or something like that. It's still a big job to get that uploaded. But I wouldn't like to get all the videos on there.
Yeah, no, it's still. Wouldn't it be great if all the movie studios got together and just created an online digital movie service?
Yeah, maybe one day.
Maybe one day, yeah.
Is it called Disney Anywhere?
Disney Anywhere except outside the US.
Anywhere.
Ultraviolet.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's very frustrating, isn't it? But,
yeah, I mean, Ultraviolet's made some pretty good penetration. I mean, I think there's only available in the UK because they want you to subscribe to Disney Life. But I think Ultraviolet, I think for all its problems, I think it's probably made the biggest dent in terms of trying to make that centralized digital locker.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, especially since we didn't really get a chance to talk about it last week, but especially with yet another movie service, another digital service, Sainsbury's announcing they're shuttering. I did get an email actually to say I am going to get a refund on the one movie that I purchased from them. So I'd be interested to see if that then disappears from my Ultraviolet library, which will be quite frustrating if it does.
Yeah, then you'd have to rebuy it as an Ultraviolet title.
Yes, which is really difficult to find online. I'd say it seems to be a problem specific to that, to the Lord of the Rings, the Return of the King movie seems to be a real problem with that. But yeah, I mean, it's great in terms of, I can play those movies through Flickster, I can play those movies through Talk TV Store, but even then there were still little gaps. So I had to sign up to the Sainsbury's movie service to buy that movie. So I got the got the Ultraviolet copy. Because I joined it to Ultraviolet, all my Ultraviolet movies became available in the Sainsbury's movie store. At least you'd think so. Any movies that Sainsbury's don't have rights to don't appear in my Sainsbury's library, even though they're Ultraviolet copies. So like I say, I tip my hat to Ultraviolet. I think it's the best solution, or at least the most solution with the biggest penetration in terms of movie studios, but it's still horribly broken.
Yeah. And I think that's why people still have their own media servers.
Yeah, it is, and I understand what Richard's saying about just buy a physical copy and then rip it. But I still just find that such a faff to go through. Why can't we've got unprotected music files? The movie studios just need to catch up.
Yeah, and it is a faff around. I mean, I've rebuilt my server, and yeah, and it's just a lot of manual work, and it's not cheap to buy all the software that you need to get it all going and integrated. And yeah, by the time you thought about doing it, it takes too long as well. So you think, oh, I was going to watch that, but I haven't ripped it yet. And by the time I've done that, it's not worth the effort. So yeah, I actually know what you're saying. A system like OneDrive with music, where it's available on all your devices, just that's got to be so much easier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I say, now, it doesn't matter where you buy the music from, you'll get an unprotected MP3, and then you can put it in OneDrive, or you can put it up into Amazon. Or does Apple have their own cloud service? I know they've got the streaming service, but can you put your own music?
You used to be able to do it through the Match. They used to have their own Match system.
That was it. Yeah, but you had to subscribe to that, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah, I'm not sure that you can do that. Which is what I've got Google Music and OneDrive. The installers, the programs that handle the uploading, pointed to the same folder. So I've got a mirror now. So I've got the same content on both servers or services.
Yes, yeah. The one thing I find, I mean, it's not so much a problem because we've got a Spotify premium subscription which is linked to Sonos, but with the Sonos, you can add Groove Music, and it will pick up your OneDrive music. It won't play it in full unless you've got a Groove subscription.
Oh, right.
Yeah, which I have to be fair to Sonos, that is their approach. That even with it was, let me think, even with Spotify, you couldn't stream Spotify, the free account, through Sonos.
Yeah.
So it's not exclusive to Groove, but it is quite frustrating knowing that I've got all that music up there that I can't just plug into my Sonos, because I've chosen to go at the moment Spotify.
Yeah, and so yeah, you've just got to find it through Spotify. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Just to finish off, we've got an email in that I'm going to read out from Alan, and he wants some advice. So we'll do the advice bit next week, but I thought I'll read it this week, and then any listeners can have pitch in, and we're prepared for next week as well. And Gary can have a listen. So he says, "Hi, long-term listener to the show. Thanks for your previous contacts via Twitter. I was wondering if you could discuss your views on what now seem to be two options for getting live TV and recorded TV around the house to replace my aging media center 8.1 and TV card and extender setup. So the two options that he's come up with is Plex Pass with the DVR and Silicon Dust, or MB Premium with the HD Freeview tuner. And he says, the reason that I've been stuck on Media Center so long is I want to use my already owned two Xbox One and multiple Xbox 360 as hardware extenders, and I don't have to have TV aerials to a number of TV locations. I like it all integrated into one UI Xbox 360 or Xbox One for Wi-Fi acceptance factor. We've not mentioned that for a while, but that was always something that Media Center did quite well on, really.
Yes, yeah.
So he says, currently we've migrated across to Plex for all our movies, videos, and photos content, and Groove Music for music. We currently have to switch different inputs or switch the Xbox One to Xbox 360 when we want to watch live TV and recorded TV into the Plex. In your, Gary and Jason's opinion, what do you think about using Plex versus MB? Any direct hands-on with live TV and recorded TV, even on either platform? And many thanks. Many thanks in advance, and keep doing your excellent shows. He does go on to mention that he used the original Xbox with XBMC on an original chipped Xbox. That's how he got started. So that's going back.
It certainly is, yeah. The presumably the Xbox One with Plex is quite a good combination with the Plex app now available.
Yes, it is, yeah. I mean, two good options that Alan's put there: Plex with the DVR and the Silicon Dust and the HD Home Room, or MB Premium with the Freeview tuner. I've not used either for live TV for some time. I did have I still have it somewhere, for a HD Home Run, and I used to have that set up with, it would have been Media Center. I did try it with actually, what did I use it with? With Kodi. But anyway, I think that the Plex option sounds a good idea because that's what Alan's using already for the rest of his stuff. So I think Plex, but I think you've got to have the right HD Home Run for that. But HD Home Run is a good tuner anyway. So yeah, and you can use it with other stuff. So I think that's probably a good idea. And then I think the Plex Pass with the DVR and the HD Home Run were probably a good solution. And it works on the Xbox One. I'm not sure about the Xbox 360 though.
Yeah, the Xbox 360 obviously is starting to get quite aged now. It's going to be difficult, I think, to find solutions that work with that.
Yeah, but certainly with the Xbox One, it should work. So maybe if any listeners have given the Plex with live TV a try, they could let us know. I know MB works with it fine, and Kodi as well. And you can use Kodi as your server, and you can even use DLNA to push out. In fact, I think, if I remember rightly, I used to use this with my Raspberry Pi. The HD Home Run will work over DLNA. So even if you didn't get all the integration working, you could still pick it up through the Xbox 360 through DLNA. You could push it to the Xbox 360, I think.
Yes, yeah.
So anyway, maybe some listeners have got some thoughts on that. But I just going what Alan said there about his existing setup. I think Plex is probably better for him. You either go all in with one or the other, I think, don't you? That's probably the best either way.
Yeah, it is so difficult particularly when you've got something that works, so well. And yeah, we used to joke about the Wi-Fi acceptance factor, but that is, it is a big deal because it's kind of techies. We do tend to accept compromise and a quirky workflow to get things to work. But obviously, generally speaking, our wives tend to be more normal people and just want stuff to work.
Yeah, I don't know why.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's no fun, is it?
Yeah.
That's why we ended up literally just going down the Humex route, which the limitation is that content's literally tied to the one TV. But with streaming services, that's kind of become our secondary screens, really. So my wife will use her Surface in the kitchen, and if she wants to watch telly, she'll literally just use the ITV hub or either the apps or just straight to the website.
That's been something that I've done for a while now. Is that lost my connection again. Come back. Trying to call you. Right, back.
Back.
Yeah. I think it's the LAN port on the laptop. It disconnected and decided to go on Wi-Fi.
Okay, yeah.
So anyway, so just to finish off. So yeah, there are a lot of options there. The streaming options, I think, make it a lot easier nowadays. You can pretty much watch any BBC content, and even I can watch Sky on the laptop, on my tablet as well. So yeah, I think you're not as dependent on TV tuners as you used to be.
No, and in fact, I've still got our old HD TV tuner in our desktop PC, but because it doesn't get used, it's not even connected up to an aerial lead anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, how things change.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So, I mean, as much as it would be nice if the humans could distribute content around them, and I know it's probably too much of a change, but I know something like the EE box, which is quite good at recording live TV, which is aerial based, not satellite based, and distributing them around the home through apps. But certainly no Xbox app that I've seen.
Yeah. So before my Wi-Fi card or my network card decides to kick off again, we'll finish there for this week.
Yes, yeah, no, it's been good.
Yeah, so we should have Gary back next week, and we'll talk some more about the setup for distributing TV around the home. So thanks to Richard, who was busy in the chat room. Jason, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Database Jace, celebrating the fact that Leicester City are top of their Champions League group.
Oh, fantastic. Funny how you only mentioned that when you're at the top anyway.
Absolutely, yeah.
You've been quiet on that for a few weeks.
Yes, especially after the weekend when we lost 4-1 to Man United. I've had a very tough week in the office.
Oh, yeah, I can well imagine. Yeah, but funny you didn't leave with that.
No, absolutely, yeah.
No. So we'll be back next Tuesday evening on the chat room or podcast everywhere else. And so thanks for enjoying the chat room. And until then, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week.